Welcome back to Chat Chit. Round 20 in the books now. Now, this was rivalry round. We had all four interstate rivals, but disappointingly, we had blowout after blowout after blowout until we were saved by the last game of the season, which looked like another dud turned into game of the season.
Yeah, and you could argue it's even game of the decade with how it actually panned out. Before that, there was a 64-point win average in the first 8 games, looking like a potential for the worst round of footy this season.
Yeah, we spoke earlier about the best round about 10 weeks ago. But
100%.
Yeah.
And for a rivalry round to potentially be classified as the worst round in footy was a bit shocking to see. This one looked like it was just going to pile on. Melbourne up by 46 points at three-quarter time. I'm sure people stopped watching the game.
Yeah, a lot of Saints fans had left the stadium.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to cruise to a 60 or 70-point victory. They kept Nasiah Wanganeen Milera, who's going to be a big topic of this podcast, really quiet throughout that game.
He had about 2 goals and 21 at three-quarter time.
Before that...
Quiet for his standards.
For his standards, he was pretty quiet, especially in the first half. But, I mean, that last quarter of footy, maybe especially the last minute and a half. I mean, they scored 2 goals in the last, you could say, 12 seconds.
Yeah, just about the most hyped player in the league, or one of the most hyped players in the league, kicks 2 goals in the last 9 seconds to cement the biggest fourth quarter comeback in AFL history. I mean, you really couldn't have written it. You had 2 teams, neither of which have any chance of making finals, neither of which are anywhere near the wooden spoon, but somehow, you could argue...
Nothing to play for.
Could argue the 2 most irrelevant teams right now in the 18, but they gave us game of the season. I mean, Melbourne, you talk about St Kilda, they did absolutely everything right. The pressure was ridiculous. They converted every single chance that they could realistically take in that fourth quarter. 9 goals, 2, I think it was. Unbelievable efficiency going inside 50. But then Melbourne just did everything they possibly could to lose it. Clayton Oliver has a chance to almost seal it with a minute and a half to go.
Spent a significant amount of time on the bench, especially in the critical time at the end.
Yeah, Clayton Oliver has a shot with 90 seconds to go, out on the full.
Very easy shot as well.
35 out, straight in front, goes out on the full, and then St Kilda, Nasiah Wanganeen Milera takes a 1v2 specky.
Massive, yeah.
And then 9 seconds to go, scores level. You can pretty much nail in a draw, and Melbourne have a 6-6-6 violation. Yeah. And then even with a minute to sort out what they're going to do, they leave the best player in the world open.
Yeah, I think my favourite part was actually Ross Lyon's reactions. He was just laughing, because obviously the game didn't mean anything. Wanganeen Milera went up, he was just laughing in the box. He was happy, and then he was laughing again when Wanganeen Milera took the mark with, I don't know, a few seconds to go at the end.
Yeah.
But, I mean, no one expected that game to turn into what it was. Let's jump into the top 5 players of the round.
Absolutely pissing down here at the top. Jesus! Usain Bolt wouldn't get him now. The legend becomes immortal.
This top 5 was crazy. While we had some dud games, we had some ridiculous performances, about 8 or 9 of them that could be performance of the round any other week, especially people just filling up the stat sheets. Like, I'll just say I've got Aaron Norton, who kicked a wonderful 7 goals, not in my top 5, amongst some other silly performances not making it. And number 5, I've got the Bont. Now, this is quite a few times in recent weeks that he's made my top 5, because he just demands it. He's just unstoppable. Every team tries their best to quash his impact, but he's best on ground most games in this back half of the season. 2 goals, 35, leads the game in contested possessions, 2 goal assists as well, and goes at 80%. Absolute leader Bont, and whatever Bulldogs do to potentially make finals, they've got Bont to thank for it.
I like it. He didn't quite make my top 5, but there were 8 guys. In 8 of the 9 games, there were guys that got 10 coaches' votes. Yeah. That never really happens. It's usually spread out. There might be 4 or 5 games.
And Bont only got 8 though.
Yeah, there might be 4 or 5 games where a player gets 10 coaches' votes, but it just shows the amount of quality performances. The one that didn't was Hayden Young, who got 8 coaches' votes, won the medal, and probably didn't get the 10 because he didn't play the last 15 minutes of the game. My number 5 bit of defender appreciation, back to his best, was Sicily. I know it was against Carlton, but he had 14 intercepts, which was a game high. It was lacing out guys from 40, 45 metres away, which is what we expect, with the ball's only a few metres high in the air. He seemed like he's back to his best, and it's going to be huge if Hawthorn want to make a finals push with a very, very tough 4 weeks to go.
He's an absolute favourite of mine, and players to watch just in the league, because he's just so strong, and the way that he kicks the footy when he's at his best, and the way that he just seems to pluck everything, despite being a relatively undersized key back. He's a special player. Loved to see that. I couldn't squeeze him in. And my number 4 was Nick Dacos. Now, Nick Dacos and Nasiah Wanganeen Milera, they weren't in the same game, but they were going for tit for tat on Sunday. 3 goals, 42 for Dacos. Do I need to say anything else? 3 goals, 42, 14 scoring involvements, and he takes the second or third contested mark of his career.
I had him at number 4 as well. And what made this performance so special was the conditions it was in as well. These were not easy conditions to play in. It was wet. He still went at 76%, got the 3 goals, the 42 touches, was really, really effective with 14 score involvements, 1 goal assist. And in several other rounds this season, he would probably be the number 1 player.
Yeah, it would be really interesting to see what Collingwood do with the 2 Dacos brothers in terms of who sits on the half-back line and who's in the midfield. Maybe when it comes, finals time, they're both right in that centre bounce and someone else, like Jack Crisp, goes to the half-back line. I'm not sure, but really interesting to see what they do.
But he's picked up another 3 votes. He's looking good in this Brownlow race. It's probably going to come down to these last 4 weeks. You'd think Dawson and Noah Anderson will be close, if not ahead, because we're not really sure how the votes go. No one expected Cripps to do what he did last year, but I hope he wins one.
Yeah, we were saying earlier, I think it would be great for Nick Dacos to win a Brownlow. You love when a guy who's
deserved it.
Who really deserves it. He deserved it a couple of years ago and got injured with 2 games to go.
Yeah.
I hope Nick Dacos wins it this year. And my number 3, I've got Jeremy Cameron with 11 goals, but not quite good enough. Should have had 12. But 11 goals, 1. I think he was 10 goals straight. You hated to see him score a behind, but yeah, he's the best since Buddy as a key forward.
Yeah.
I think he's 20 something or 25 or so ahead in the Coleman medal race. Not sure exactly how many, but absolute freak player. And he just filled his boots against a weak North Melbourne backline.
I had Jeremy Cameron at number 2. I had Matt Rowell at number 3. And now, what made his performance so special was what Josh Dunkley did to him earlier in the year. He kept him to a career low game on ranking points, according to Champion Data. He completely smashed him. But in this game, in the really big game for Gold Coast, to get 37 disposals, 12 tackles with a lot of damage. He wasn't just in the contest the entire game. He managed to get out the back. He was receiving ball on the outside. He did absolutely everything in this game. It's exactly what you want from a player in a rivalry game like this, and a guy of this stature, you need him to stand up in games like this.
For all those reasons, I had him at number 2, plus some other reasons. 15 clearances and 23 contested possessions. He had to work his ass off for all of it, and was still damaging. Second in the game behind Ben Ainsworth for score involvements. And he was just such an obvious best player on the ground in in a game with 2 premiership contenders where it's all to play for both teams. Yeah, he was copping the tag and was still the best on ground. And he's had an amazing... He's probably been the most consistent midfielder in the comp over the last 4 to 5 weeks with the output that he's putting in, and it's pure effort and drive. And the other thing for me was the gravity of the game. Jeremy Cameron 11 goals is ridiculous, but this was a game that really mattered for both teams, and this is against your arch rival, the reigning premier, a top 4 team. Incredible performance from Matt Rowell.
I had Jeremy Cameron at number 2, and he scored 11 goals. I understand it was against North Melbourne, but no one scored 11 goals since 2023 when Taylor Walker, I think it was against West Coast. When he kicked 10. Really, really special. He's closing in on potentially 100 goals for the season, including finals, because he's not going to get it in the regular season. But I know a lot of them were out the back, but to still kick 11 goals in a single game of footy, even against that North Melbourne defence, was pretty incredible to watch, and pretty much kept people watching the game. Yeah. The fact that Jeremy Cameron was hunting down 10 goals.
Yeah, it's got to suck as a North Melbourne player that you're trying to be at the top of your sport, and you've got pretty much an entire quarter and a half at the end of the game where the entire Geelong team is not really playing serious footy. They're just trying to find Jeremy Cameron like it's a training drill.
Dangerfield was having a super lucky in the last quarter, and I think North Melbourne were lucky to only lose by 101 points. I think that game could have been it could have been 150. Probably should have been 150 with the amount of entries that Geelong had into North Melbourne's defensive 50.
Yeah.
So, respect, North Melbourne kept it only 101 point loss.
Yeah, now to number 1, and it's time to talk about Nasiah Wanganeen Milera and exactly how good is this guy.
I said last week, Give him the blank check. And,
now everyone's saying it.
And now everyone's saying it. I think now if Tom de Koning comes into this club, who hasn't looked great in the last probably half a dozen weeks, and Nasiah Wanganeen Milera leaves, they got the St Kilda fans have to do something about that. If this guy leaves the club and you make a big money signing, there's something that has to be said.
Yeah, especially when the Tom de Koning thing really makes no sense to me. There's a lot of deficiencies in St Kilda at the moment, especially through their midfield. And Nasiah Wanganeen Milera developing into a ridiculous midfielder.
Yeah.
And Rowan Marshall is a really serviceable ruckman that just seems to have all the makings of a guy that's just going to get better and better. He works his butt off. His skills are developing. He was in and around the All-Australian squad a few years ago. I don't know why they're searching for a ruckman, but back to Nasiah Wanganeen Milera. Like, this performance, even while St Kilda were down 50 or so, he kicked a check side from 45 after faking a player straight through the middle of the sticks, kicked another goal, was kept quiet in the first half, and then in the last quarter, when his team needed him, he ran the midfield along with Max Hall, who I wanted to give a shout out to, who, as a young player, only just not eligible for Rising Star, but if he was, he would be... you wouldn't be able to bet on him on Sportsbet. That's how obvious he'd been.
Suspended.
Yeah, he's been incredible this year, and I think it's because he's played one season before. He's not being talked about in that way, but he is a superstar. But Nasiah Wanganeen Milera, he's just as classy a player, as good a kick as there is in the league, arguably right now. And then if you need to chuck him at full forward to say, kick a goal here, find the footy, win us the game, he can take a 1v2 specky over Bailey Fritsch and then slot it through the middle.
I'm scared what St Kilda are going to have to offer to keep it. Week after week, he is just adding zeros onto his contract. And I don't think it's... You might even start with a 2. Like, being realistic, his contract might start with a 2 if they want to keep him there for 5 to 10 years. And they're going to do you think they're doing everything they possibly can to keep him at the club. Yeah.
Do you think he stays at St Kilda?
I think he'll stay. I mean, there was a video that came out. They were having a party where he was sitting on Ross Lyon's shoulders, and maybe I think this is the sort of thing that makes you like feel the love of the club. Like the fans get around him, the players get around him, and it was not. We don't really know what it's like for him inside the club, knowing that he could probably go to a team that's got a better chance of winning the premiership. But maybe he loves the club a lot, and he's just waiting for the right offer to accept. Yeah,
I hope so. I'd love to see a player like him stay loyal to his club. The other thing that I wanted to touch on with him that's been discussed a bit this week is the footy IQ in that final play. When Melbourne were a bit dishevelled, figuring out what to do after the 666 infringement, he says to Rowan Marshall, and I really hope there's a mic'd up that comes out, but he said to Rowan Marshall, find me 45 out to the left here, because they're all going to charge back towards goal.
And respect for the kick. Because he nailed him from 45 metres away. I have no idea. I know there's been talk shows all throughout the week, so we won't go in detail about what that Melbourne team was doing, letting the most dangerous player just run. And they were... The Melbourne defenders were standing with some St Kilda forwards 100 metres away from the ball. And they had to have known how long was left.
Yeah.
So it was a bit confusing to watch at the end there.
That sort of comeback can only happen if all 44 players are working the same way. And that's what was happening. That's what was happening in that fourth quarter.
We'll move into the next segment in hits and misses. My hit is that it feels like Adelaide are seriously flying under the radar this season. I'd argue out of the top 9 teams, besides when they sat on top of the ladder for 12 hours before Collingwood played, there's not been near enough talk about what they're doing this season. How they're able to get those 3 quality key forwards working in harmony together when there was so much criticism at the start of the season. The defence, which didn't feel like a strength coming into the year, has seen several players emerge as like top grade talent. Keane, Worrell, Michael Annie, just to name a few. Dawson is one of the Brownlow favourites. Saligo has taken a serious step up this year. They arguably have the Rising Star favourite in Curtin. I haven't even mentioned Rankin and Richelli as small forwards.
Yep.
They're absolutely stacked and look prime for September.
Yeah, you didn't mention Ben Keys either, who has been
they're
probably my favourite player on their team.
Neil Bullen as well. There are a lot of role players and quality players in that team I didn't even mention.
Yeah, you think about their bottom 6s is up there with the best bottom 6s.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what names I would put into that bottom 6. They just have a really well-rounded lineup. And as you mentioned, their defence, which has been such a weakness in recent years, they're the second best defence in the league and by a comfortable margin in points conceded per game. And they sit with 146 percentage, by far the highest percentage in the league. Yeah, love that hit. My hit is another team that got a huge win, and it was Gold Coast, who bounced back after a really concerning loss that could have sent ripples if they lost another one to Brisbane. If they went back-to-back losses, they would have dropped outside the 8, Bulldogs pipping them, and despite that game in hand, they would have been really worried, knowing that they've never made finals, but now they feel solid and they have a really easy run home compared to those teams they're competing with. But not just to win this game against Brisbane, reigning premiers, arch rivals, as I said earlier, but to do it by 66 points. Their accuracy at goal was composed, didn't look like a team that was nervous, 20 goals 10, and it was complete midfield dominance. The Brisbane midfielders, who are such big names, they couldn't get their hands on the footy because Gold Coast, all 4 of their inside midfielders had 30 plus disposals. They had a plus 12 clearance advantage, and despite having way more of the footy, contested and uncontested, they led tackles as well, which is a really bad sign for Brisbane and a great sign for Gold Coast. So to have all firing on all cylinders like that after a huge loss, all credit to Gold Coast.
Well, it's huge for them as well. I know you said just to make the top 8, but they could be charging towards the top 4. They've still got the game in hand. They'll be a couple points off, but if you look at their run home, they really only have GWS. They could easily go 5 from 5 in these last 5 games. And looking at some of the teams that the teams above them are playing against, they have much tougher fixtures. They could very easily get a top 4 finish. I go into my miss. So this round highlighted to me the distance between the top 9 and the bottom 9 teams. I feel like it's such a large gap. Like a wildcard round seems like a necessity next year to keep some of these teams interested. The only team I can see realistically see challenging the top 9 is Sydney. And I think most people would probably agree with that. Bring in a quality key forward and suddenly the entire equation changes. As for the rest of the teams, the St Kildas, the Essendons, the Melbournes, the Carltons, and below that, I can see a long and tough year coming in AFL 2026 because there is a serious gap between the top 9.5 teams, including Sydney, and the rest.
Yeah, well, Port Adelaide sit in 11th. They're meant to be the second best, and they've been in finals, top 4 recently. Yeah. And I think this was the 4th game of the season, or the third game of the season that they've lost by 75 or more. Yeah, the 4th of the season that they've lost by 75 or more. So, yeah, you just can't have blowouts like that if you're a team that wants to take yourself seriously. But my miss is, the Adelaide did a great job, as you talked about in your hit, but they got a little bit of help in the first moment of the game. Huge Adelaide showdown, which has been amazing over the last decade. Miles Bergman bursts away from the clearance and laces out Fogarty on the chest.
What a kick as well. Yeah. I mean, that's the sort of kick you would have been looking from an Adelaide player.
Fogarty on lead, hands outstretched.
Did they give him the goal assist? I don't think they added it to the stats, but I think they should have.
Miles Bergman having a great season, and that was exactly what you wanted to see, but just flip it 180 degrees. But yeah, it's some schoolboy footy stuff. I think I did that in Auskick one time, and the coach wasn't happy with me. I got rotated straight into the forward pocket. But Miles Bergman, I think that fits into the Amy Clangers category.
Oh, you think so? You reckon? Mate, the Clanger, he nailed him.
Yeah, my favourite bounce segment back in the day was Don't Come Monday. I think they've renamed it. Yeah, I think Miles Bergman might not want to speak to Ken Inkley come Monday, especially with Ken fighting for his job.
I mean, what a way to start the game. Big showdown, obviously coming in as massive underdogs. Straight out of the middle, you think you're getting the clearance with Bergman with the ball, laces out Fogarty 45 metres away, right in the goal square.
Yeah, we'll get into Doss's Footy Pyramid.
There are no changes in the pyramid this week. I know Sam Darcy is probably on the fringes, he kicked 6, but do it against a better team than Essendon. In the 5th tier, Callahan's going to hold his spot. Max Holmes is going to hold his spot. And just listen, these guys all had ridiculous
Callahan 10 coaches' votes.
Yeah, Holmes had a really good game as well. Unlucky, Callahan was sitting in my top 5 players of the round for quite a long time this week as well. McCluggage had a pretty good game, all things considered. Butters still had 34 touches, getting a hard tag the entire game.
He was great.
And Sarong, who's been really good in the weeks prior, didn't have his best game, but still had enough impact. Moving up a tier, Dawson's going to hold his spot. Isaac Heaney's going to move down a tier. Grundy's going to move down a tier. And I know he's still got coaches' votes. He was still the Swans' best player on the field by a mile. But just look at the players that are going to leapfrog them. And Raoul's going to hold his spot. Moving into the 3rd tier, Wanganeen Milera is going to move up a tier. Jeremy Cameron...
2 tiers at least.
Jeremy Cameron's going to move up a tier. And Noah Anderson's going to hold his spot. And And I mean the players. I mean I just couldn't find. Jeremy Cameron had to move up. Wanganeen Milera had to move up, and I had to find players to bring down. I know Heaney didn't have his best performance, but Grundy was just the one I had to pick.
Yeah.
Moving to the second tier, all things stay the same. Ed Richards holds his spot. Seems like he's kicking 2 goals, 25 to 30 touches every single week. Dacos holds his spot, and Marcus Bontempelli is on top of the pyramid. Cue the Nasiah Wanganeen Milera complaints.
I don't care if Ed Richards is the number 1 rated player in the game. Great player. 4th to 6th best. He's not top 3. That's Nasiah Wanganeen Milera. But something that I found pretty fun this week was just you have the best players in the competition all playing at their absolute best. If I'm thinking of the best 6 or 7 players in the league right now, that's Nasiah Wanganeen Milera, Dacos, Bont, Jeremy Cameron, Noah Anderson, Butters, who are all phenomenal this week. Sam Darcy, 6 goals and hasn't even been mentioned because Bulldogs were just so dominant. But the best players in the league are all firing. They seem to all be healthy, and a lot of them are playing in finals teams, and really excited to see them. Now we're going to jump into the power rankings. At the bottom of the power rankings, we have one change here with St Kilda leapfrogging Melbourne, as they did in the 4th quarter. And then you've got Swans dropping into 10th. They were making a charge. They were in good form. And they were up 28 at half-time. We were at the game at NG Stadium.
Looking really good as well.
Looking really, really good. And then we went from our best half of the year, I reckon, to our worst half since that Adelaide game.
We haven't even mentioned Toby Green's comments at half time. Cool. Papley looking a bit overweight. I know they're probably their mates outside of this, but it's a bit fun.
Very bold to say when you're down 30 at half time. Looks really, really bad, and there would have been a lot of Mickey taken out of Toby Green if GWS lost. But then Papley gets injured in the 3rd quarter straight away, pretty much, from soreness, and has a really poor second half, and GWS win.
We haven't really talked. I know Toby Green's going to miss a week of footy. I don't know if you've seen the elbow to the head of Heaney. But how can that be less weeks than Stephen May? When you're talking about footy acts, Heaney's on the ground, tackled, nothing's going to happen, and he comes in, he drops the elbow right into the head.
Yeah, anyone that knows anything about politics or the legal system knows that there's a reason we have intent as the main sort of driver of punitive measures. And what we've got here is intent has sort of been taken out of the equation, which is, as Aidan's been saying, such a dangerous precedent to set.
Well, you could see just before Heaney had fended off Toby Green, and then Heaney got tackled, and he came straight in. And they're good mates; they have the business together.
Yeah,
but he came straight in, elbow to the head, and you're telling me that's 1 week. Stephen May's 3 weeks for a footy act.
Yeah, why intent is so important is it means that guys can feel safe knowing that if I just go hard for the footy here, be relatively concerned about the other person's head and not doing anything silly, then the tribunal system will look after me as long as I have the right intent. Don't do anything stupid. But now you can just get unlucky, and if you're charging at the ball when there's another guy charging at the ball, you can get 3 weeks if things go wrong. And I really, really dislike that. Stephen May is the perfect example of that, as well as many others, probably more than 10 to 15 others this year.
Yeah. There was the Paul Curtis one earlier in the year as
exactly.
well, which is probably one that you could highlight.
Yeah, probably the most important as well, because that was a guy who might be in the All-Australian picture right now if he hadn't missed those 3 weeks, because he's been amazing. Then you've got the Bulldogs jumping over the Swans here.
Yeah.
I've got Hawthorn dropping into 8th. They played well and got the win over Carlton, but this Gold Coast performance just had to be rewarded.
Yeah.
I've moved them up to 7th with that win over Brisbane. Then, speaking of Brisbane, they dropped to 4th, and Collingwood dropped to 2nd. And then I've got Geelong jumping into 3, and then Adelaide jumping from 3rd place into 1st.
It's not time we had some changes in the power rankings.
Yeah, as I said last week, Adelaide, the only team in the league that's top 3 in both points scored and then also for least points conceded. So they have the best profile in footy. They're getting it done against the good teams. They're getting it done against the bad teams. And they seem to be just flying on the premiership runway.
They're going to be really tough to beat at Adelaide Oval as well. You think they're going to finish 1st or 2nd coming into the end of the year? I know they have they have a tough run home, but the way they're playing, you think they finish 1st or 2nd, get the 2 home finals at Adelaide Oval. You wouldn't bet against them making the grand final where they are right now.
Yeah, and it's been surprising to see, but at the same time, all the sort of footy nuts and experts at the beginning of last season and even the season before sort of predicted Adelaide as that team that would jump out and jump maybe into the top 8, maybe even the top 4 because of the young talent on their list. And they've underperformed the last couple of years, but this year they've shown what everyone was talking about and everyone was hoping for.
Still so young as well.
Yeah, so this is the beginning of a premiership window for them.
And we know Nasiah Wanganeen Milera, if he does go somewhere, it is going to be to Adelaide, one of the Adelaide teams. Port Adelaide or Adelaide.
Maybe the only place they don't have firepower is a runner and sort of a score creator
dangerous
from their half-back
line. Yeah, scary thoughts ahead.
But you do think he'd go straight into their midfield. But yeah, scary thoughts ahead, as Aiden says. Adelaide, probably the best team in it right now.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.